Welcome to Live from My Drum Room. My guest is legendary former drummer of Pearl Jam, Dave ABBRUZZESE. Dave was a member of Pearl Jam from 1991 to 1994 during the band's rise to superstardom and ultimately becoming the biggest band in the world during that time. In this episode, we do a deep dive into Dave's iconic drumming with Pearl Jam and some of his other projects. This was an incredible episode with Dave opening up and bearing his soul about his dismissal from Pearl Jam, creating music, and so many aspects of his life. And I want to thank him for his generosity and inspiration. In fact, we covered so much ground that this episode will be split into two parts. So come along for the ride for part 2 with Dave ABBRUZZESE. And be sure to check out part 1 if you haven't seen it. I love that you're still a drummer. Well, let's play some more music. Should we do that? Should we play a couple more tunes?
Yeah, we'll do that. Sure.
So let's, I was thinking we'd play, when we were talking about, especially verses, a song that you have a writing credit on, Go. And what's, yeah. Well, I was going to say,
that was a trip. When I wrote the song, it was a stomp, like a total Zeppelin stomp ripoff. And I was just like in my, sitting against the fireplace, like, having a good time. I just finally detuned my guitar like all the other Seattle guys do. And I was like, wow, this is cool,
Yeah.
And I went into rehearsal one day and Stone had got these new PD stacks. And it was just like, wow. And I remember taking off the standby buttons and it was like, and I was like, whoa. And I picked up his number 3 guitar and just started, and he came down the steps. He's like, wow, what's that? So I showed him. He's ripping on it. And then Mike came in and started messing with, and then Jeff came in and I got behind the kit. And then Eddie walked in and started syllabalizing. He was like, okay, it's going to be a song then. And one of those. And then I've heard there's a bunch of little, there's tapes floating around of the rehearsal. And I mean, the flamboyancy of the middle part and all that came about during one take. And that's just the one that ended up on the record. It was just like, so many magic. It was just me reacting to the power that I was hearing in my headphones. And it worked out. Yeah.
Man.
Good song.
That's awesome. I mean, and to have a writing credit on a gigantic selling record, that doesn't suck.
Stone said, "Hey, how's it feel to be getting a writer's credit?" And I was like, I don't want that. I didn't want it to say ABBRUZZESE better. And I said, no, we're a band. I had an idea. The band took the idea and turned it into this song. I don't see how anybody can take credit for any. I mean, that's what we do. And if you look at the records, the Verses and the Vitology records, I don't know if it's still like this. I don't know if their egos changed when I got booted, but the records all under every song have all of our name because of the point that I made, being that, how can I say I just came up with a cool riff. We turned it into what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then the whole record became everyone's names under every song, which I thought was proper, Well, but I don't know if it's still that.
Yeah. Like Led Zeppelin, man. Yeah. Collaboration. Yeah. Well, let's play the tune.
Play the tune. Oh, there's a snare. 13 Black Beauty piccolo with an ambassador head on the bottom and emperor on the top, cranked up to the point of, are you kidding us? It's like playing on a cinder block. That's why that snare's up.
It screams, though. That snare screams. Yeah. All right. Let's give it a listen. Here we go. Here we go with Go.
And this is setting up the quick drop.
Say that again. Yeah.
I think this is setting up the quick track. I'm playing to the quick.
Oh, yeah.
So they know you're the quick track because the only thing in my headphone is the quick track. So I'm playing just to show them where the quick is.
Oh, man, that's so great.
I swear never took it for granted. Just thought of it now.
Man. Well, thanks.
Yeah, I remember hearing that one back after dinner and just going, damn.
Oh man. And what a sound. That's a Ludwig Black Beauty, you said.
13-inch piccolo.
Yeah. Screaming. Yeah. What a great
Yeah,
sound.
and I was definitely used for the fences. I mean, the hi-hat sound came from 13-inch fusion hat with a stage or a metal top, and then I had rivets put in the bottom, which I'm a huge fan of rivets and hi-hats. I just always have
Yeah.
them. And yeah, I was hitting them so hard that they were just, it was just like they're just giving up. All those symbols of them giving up.
Yeah. No, you could
I remember too, distinctly like trying to paint images on their, the symbols to going so I could get a stereo thing. But then when the mix all came down, it's like, oh, well, it really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
And I was really proud. That was one of those driving back from Marin County to Seattle with the cassette of the record, because that was something. That's the other thing Brendan's amazing at is when we left, we had our album. Wasn't mastered yet, but we knew we had our record.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm driving back. I picked up some kids hitchhiking and said, hey, you guys want to hear something pretty cool?
Oh my God. They must have lost their minds. Oh my God.
Yeah. They were on their way to waiting place.
You gave those kids a story, man, for the rest of their lives,
Oh, they gave me one too. Yeah. They're actually still in touch with a couple of them. It's always funny.
That's cool, man. Well, let's play a couple more tracks. And I thought maybe we'd play a few things that are some other things you've done other than Pearl Jam, which again, I wasn't, you hit me to some great stuff. I mean, this is a tune. I was going to play the Steve Salas tune.
Okay. Well, let me tell you a little about this one. We made this record I had gotten fired and I was like, what the, I was completely just, I didn't know how to deal with any of that. And Stevie got in touch with me. Stevie and Bernard Fowler had come out to the Indio Polo Grounds show, the Shula show. And we met afterwards. And then he called me up and said, hey, man, I want to make a record. You want to drum on it? Let's get together. Flew down to LA. He had a bomb shelter set up behind his house that he did jams in. And we were back there and we just jammed. And, he had played with Taylor for a while. So, he introduced me to Taylor on the phone and that was such a treat. And then this was, when Taylor was still, I think he had just started doing the Alanis gig at that point. Mm-hmm. But we ended up making some great music, but we made this record. I mean, there was a point where he came to Seattle and we wrote and recorded so many, 13 songs in 9 days or something, like it just blitzkrieg.
Yeah.
When the record came out, I remember listening to the record and thinking, did I play on that one? There were half the songs I didn't remember, but they were ferocious and really funky and really natural. It was more the kind of music I was playing before Pearl Jam. It's just funky guitar, bass, and drums, 3-piece. Melvin Brannon, incredible, from Dan Lee Network on bass, and we just had a really great time, a really intense. We'd sit in the lounge and Steve had an acoustic and Melvin had an acoustic bass, and I was tapping on my legs and be like, "Yeah, that's a cool idea." And then we'd go in and just blow out a whole song.
Man. Yeah.
And so Stevie said, I want to do, and the lady, I'm gonna do my Stevie person. David, I want to do and it was Stevie drive me absolutely insane. And then I'd get pissed off and he'd be like, "Hey, it's good for you, David." Which at the time I didn't know, but maybe so, because he got a lot of really great work out of me and I love him, appreciate him to death. But he he said to me, I had been listening to this song, and I was like, man, let's do this one. And he didn't even hesitate. He said, yeah, let's do it. And so it was just bass, drums, and guitar. And it was within 5 minutes of deciding we were going to do it. We went in and it was just like, and it was on my old Ludwig kit, just a couple of zone mics, real natural sound, no flamboyant anything, no overdubs, no splicing tape together. It was just, we just played it. And that was that. And man, you know, such a great track and ferocious. And I remember just like being in such a good mood. And there's some things that, you know, there's one fill on there where I just went my kick drum, and it was like, wow. I remember distinctly, I can't believe I pulled that off. That's gonna be great on a record. And that's what some of that stuff was there'd be like something that happened, and I think, man, that's gonna be killer on a record, you know. Well, it was making a record with Stevie at that point. I mean, we've made quite a few records together. I co-produced what he calls his art record. You know, the one that got pretty good acclaim but didn't sell well. Yeah, I mixed that. So it was incredible, you know. But yeah, so we've done a lot of work together, and this song was just meant as a one-off, kind of a hidden track after the record. And I totally forgot, and I was listening to it, and you know, when I found it, you know, to send you the link, I left it on. I wasn't paying attention, and a few minutes after the song's over, all of a sudden I heard this thing I forgot existed, and it was Melvin recorded it because Steve and I were just bickering so much. And it was me talking about how, man, I play for myself, man. It's, you know, to me, I do what I do and this and that. And Stevie was more about, no, you got to be focused and know what you want. And I'm like, nah, it's one, you know, it's like that. And it's just so funny to hear our young voices talking about just the most stupid, mundane, ridiculous shit that was so important for and it ends with me saying, this is David Abbruzzese winning an argument with Stevie Salas, you know.
No, man,
yeah,
that's you can look back at.
Really proud of.
You should be so proud of this, man. This is, hey, if I were you, and Dave.
Horn guys on it, which was cool, you know.
Yeah. This is such a great track. And I'll tell everybody the name of this song, so everybody knows, is "What Do I Have to Do to Prove My Love to You?" And again, it's David Abbruzzese, I'm going to say, with Stevie Salas,
Melvin Brannon.
Yep. And here we go. This is a great track. Man, that is something to hang your hat on. That is so killing.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a treat. That was a treat. And also, when that was happening, Joe Gaspard got me on a motorcycle. So it was like right after ba ba boom, and it was over. I went and got on the bike because I had to put a few hundred miles on it before I changed the braking oil because he was on his way up to go on a ride. And, so there's so much going on, but that that track, man, it was so much fun. To me, it was like going back to my roots of like technically overplaying, but feeling it and having so much fun that
Yeah,
it
man.
just works.
You could tell somebody that was James Brown with Clyde and Jabo playing drums, and I don't think they'd
Yeah.
disagree. I mean, that was like some serious
Well, if
authentic.
they might say that drummer lost the. I kind of lost the one. I I went a little haywire on that kick drum, but
No, it sounded
somebody
great,
had to
man.
do it.
It's well, there's another
Thanks,
tune I want to play too. This
thanks,
is
man.
yeah, this tune that you mentioned, Bernard Fowler, and
Ah,
again, you hit me to this great
yeah.
tune, Pop That Thing, and again,
Man, this record is so good. The whole record, and Stevie introduced me to Bernard, and we became family instantly. And that was a track that we did for a record Stevie and Bernard had made called Nickel Bag. It was 12 hits and a bump, and the song we did together was the bump, I guess. But I had a cold, but Steve, I said, "Who is it?" And he said, "It's Bernard." And I said, I really want to meet Bernard." And then he said, Daryl Jones will be playing bass. And I was like, "Okay, I'm in."
oh my God,
So I
oh
got to go play. But on this track, it's actually the great Carmine Rojas playing
yes,
bass.
yeah, man,
And it was one of those sessions where I came into LA, and the late, great Jeff Sessler, man, he would meet me at the airport. And the first thing he'd say is, "You got your sticks?" Yeah. "Where are we going?" He said, "Let's go." We'd go straight to a studio. And I'd walk in, and I mean, it was Waddy Wachtel, it was Carmine Rojas, you know, Bowie's guitar player, all these cats that were just like, what in the what? And you know, and just music would happen. And in this track, Bernard was out with the Stones, and he just said, "Hey man, why don't you take these tapes and just go, just produce them, take them where you want to take them." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So with this song, I got to go in, and Waddy Wachtel came in, and we did a lot of stuff together. Which, I mean, Waddy,
yeah,
I mean,
man,
what can you say?
Waddy,
He
yeah,
just, and but the night we laid it down, it was Reeves Gabriel on guitar from Bowie's band,
sure, yeah,
and Carmine Rojas. First time Carmine and I met, and I didn't even know it was the Carmine Rojas. From played Let's Dance, the bass player on China Girl, all this
yeah,
amazing stuff. I didn't even know. I just thought he was this cool guy, like all these guys. I didn't know who or what. There was no pretentious, nothing. They were just these cats with their instruments, and we were playing. And I'm playing on this beat up old funky kit with 57s on it, no big Neumanns or anything. And we're in this one room behind the Mint studio on Pico. And Daniel and I had a little room back there, and we set up. And Bernard said, "Let's," and it just started. That guitar player, Jeff Fielder, was there. It just started, and this and that, and then boom, 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 and we kicked into it. And then there was this point where I looked up, and Carmine was leaning over my kit, and we hit this one section together that was like pop, and we just locked for a second. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and it was like, okay, now this
um,
shit's gonna get real. And the track just happened, and yeah, it was, there was a lot. I take a lot of pride in the track because it was just, to me, Bernard Fowler is a living legend, and he's family, and he's, to have toured with them and played music, just like with Neil and with Eddie, where eyes lock and things on, and there's that magical moment where you go, "Wow, this is
yeah,
happening."
yeah,
To create that moment for Bernard and have him look at me like, "Thanks, man." you know. It's like
Yeah.
I could sleep at night knowing that I gave something of myself to Bernard that he needed and wanted at that moment. And this song represents that to me, you know. There's a lot of fun. A whole
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Well said, man.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Another great
Something.
track that you can just hang your hat on, you know. Here it
Yeah, man.
comes. Pop that
All right.
thing.
Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
Pop that thing, bang, bang, bang. Pop that thing, bang, bang, bang. Ting-a-ling-a-ling, I'm hooking on you. Get on down, now do your stuff. Come on. Pop that thing, bang, bang, bang. Pop that thing, bang, bang, bang. If you can't do it right, don't you try it again. Look at that rooster running up to that hill. Pop that thing, bang, bang, bang. Pop that thing, bang, bang, bang. Hey, Sister Rosalie, girl, ain't no limit. Look at that child popping that thing. Get up, I get ready to roll.
Yeah, man.
Don't get on board if you can't carry the load. Take your groove on down and get ready to roll. If the record starts, start it over again. Come on. Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang. Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang. Ting-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, I'm hooking on you. Get on down. Now do your stuff. Come on. Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang. Pop that thing, baby. Bang, bang, bang. If you can't do it right, don't you try it again. Look at that rooster running up to that hill. Come on. Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang. 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 Pop that thing. Bang, bang, bang.
Man.
And that's, I remember now, that's also Danny Saber mixed it. He's also playing guitar. And I wrote the horn part.
No kidding,
Which
man.
blew my mind. Yeah, I sat down, I wrote it out in my chicken hawk writing, and these amazing players, they played it, and I heard it back, and I was like, wow. And originally I had a couple other people that were doing some work on it. That the version that we did was a little more old school, and I think it just didn't really work on Bernard's record as much. And Danny came in and did some cooler, I think much cooler approaches, made it more of a guitar thing than a horn and bass and drums thing. And it worked really well on Bernard's record. But yeah, the fact, like sitting in the control room and hearing these great LA players playing these horn lines, and when I gave it to him, I was like, this is what I'm hearing. And then when they played it, they were like, "That's the shit." And I was just like, "Oh wow, man, this is all right. I think I kind of like this producer shit."
Yeah, it's good to be the
But
king.
still, man, I'll tell you right now, man, playing a tambourine for that long will fuck you up.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. But I gotta say,
People don't
man,
understand.
yeah.
Tambourine and shakers are a bitch.
What you played on that song, Dave, the drum part, it's like you sound like a session guy, like a seasoned Jim Keltner level guy that like,
Man,
do you know what I mean? Like it's so clean, it's so perfect, it's the feel
you
is
know,
incredible.
I just looked at it like, I knew we'd already established what we established, and I knew that if we were going to keep going, there were going to have to be some things that made it worth staying around for.
Yeah, yeah,
So changing up and adding little things, and that's when when Bernard or when Carmine and I looked at each other, and he gave me that look like, "I see where you're going, young man," and I looked at him like, "Wow, it's really cool. You're black, and this is working." Because to me, still, I all the best music I ever made were with my brothers that were, that came from a different place, that came from different music than I did, and like the only macadamia nut in the brownie musically. All of my heroes were the guys that were, that were they were a different color. They're brown, or they're black, or they're yellow, or they're red, whatever it was. They offered something that I understood, and it was the biggest thing was the guys in the same boat, Gene Krupa and Ed Shaughnessy and Buddy Rich, and these guys that talked about the flavor, of playing with black musician, playing with, with soul.
yeah, yeah.
There was something. Daryl Phillips, bass player I grew up playing with, the bass player Dr. Tongue. It was just this thing where he was an incredibly gifted and studied player, just like so many of the guys in Dallas were. And me playing from my heart, it just became something that the dynamic of, I guess, them knowing what they were doing and me doing just what I felt was right. That the dynamic of those two worlds clashing created something that almost validated their knowledge of music and allowed them to play soulfully more so than it would have if I knew what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
As well as the opposite happened, which is I was challenged by guys that Jerry Rizzi and these people that were incredibly talented, gifted, and studied, allowing me to take their music somewhere where technically maybe it didn't belong going because I didn't know, that technical side of things. So I just played what I felt should be there. And, and so my musical language came more from a language that was just my own, and
Yeah.
just so much. So,
And that was, that's kind of, I think, what makes it special is it just, you know what I mean? It fit. It wasn't, you didn't have to force something, just a natural thing.
and also the cool thing was when it didn't work, you could tell right away because all of a sudden it was like, this look what happened. It's like, why are we trying? It's like music, to me, music shouldn't be so challenging,
Yeah.
the music I like anyway, there's other music that is based on, a cerebral approach and time signatures. Wowie, not that listener, but I've never been one of those guys. That's why I love Neil's approach so much.
Mm-hmm.
To me, Neil was his technical aspects didn't come from his playing; it came from his precision.
the placement of what he did. And to me, and then later when Neil said that he was affected by the Seattle drummers,
Yeah.
and then I heard the record where it was like, holy shit, it's the first time I'd ever listened to Neil play, and he would do something. The next thing he did was what I expected to be done, and it never happened to me. His music, the way he played, never hit me that way before. It was always a surprise that then I had to kind of understand or accept. But then they did those couple of records towards the end of the Rush stuff, where I guess he disappeared and worked with Freddie Gruber for a while and all that. It kind of reinvented his playing. And then I heard him play kick drum, snare, and hi-hat patterns. That was like, wow, I understand this, And then when I read that he was really digging my playing and Matt's playing, and it was just, what was the quote? He said that he was worried about the state of drumming, and then the 90s came around with drummers like me and Matt, and now he can sleep again at night, and that it was just like, wow.
What an
But then when I heard those records,
compliment. Yeah.
oh yeah. He, what a gem, what a gem. I miss it.
Yeah.
I miss it a lot.
A very, very deep guy. Yeah. No doubt. Yeah. Well, I know we've burned all the batteries out of all your devices. So as we wind it down, I thought we'd play a little something that you wrote and your own band.
Oh, yeah.
We play a track.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
this one, it's orchestra.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Green Rockets Orchestra, it was something that, for all intents and purposes, saved my life in the sense of what my life was to me at the time. After getting fired from the band, I really didn't know, a lot of people didn't understand, it's like so many great things came my way, whether they were monetary, like the Guns N' Roses thing, or just exceptional, like Ava Boreal Sr. inviting me to go and take the seat that's usually Steve Gadd's seat, their little European tours. He called me up, and he's, I think it was at the urging of Abe Jr. And he invited me to go to Europe and do a improv trio thing. And I was just like, but I was so shook to my core from getting fired and not really understanding, and at the time, it wasn't that I got fired from a band. It was that I looked around, it was like, I'm in a strange city, and everybody that I cared about is now having a hard time relating to me because they are still working for the band, So I called up Dave Castell, again, Dave from the Course of Empire days and all that. And I said, I want to come down and get together with Daryl Phillips and Doug Neal, people from Dr. Tongue and people that I always greatly admired, and just go in the studio and just whatever. And at this point, I had a semi truck worth of gear. So we descended on Dave's studio, and it just so happened, I said, Dave, do you know a singer? And he was just happened to work Paul Slavens, who was the keyboard player, guitar player, vocalist, leader of the band 10 Hands, which was Matt's band for Edie. And that was the band that Earl Harvin and Mike Dillon and all of them I'd watch from the back window. They were the peers, they were the ones in Dallas that were like, nobody could touch them, entertaining as hell, incredible musician. And so I was like, sure. I'd never really even met Paul, but we got down there, and in 3 days, it was monumental. Music we were making, just like, wow, it was so easy. And everyone was so casual and just ferocious on their instruments, played so well and played so well together. So I just said, well, why don't we do this for 6 weeks? So then I brought my, all my manly gear and tube gear and mics and shit got real, 50 guitars and a bunch of drums, it was like all of a sudden you have to really fit. And Gary Muller of the Chapman Stick took over and we ended up 6 weeks went by so fast and it was like, man, we got enough stuff to make records. And we were just going in and just any idea of seeing it through a different drum set up every song, different, we were just challenging ourselves to just whatever and having a great time. And so at the end of that, it was like, why don't we make a real record? So I found a ranch, like 7,000 square foot rambler on hundreds of acres in the middle of nowhere, a deck. And I asked these guys what it would take monetarily for them to give up a year of their life and just basically dedicate it to getting together every day and just having fun, playing music.
Yeah.
And at this point, the studio was over the top, one of the most well-equipped studios that I'd ever worked in. It's mine. And we took over this house and I mean, anytime anyone picked up an instrument, there was 24-track tape rolling, and we recorded thousands of hours of music, and came up with a couple of records. But it was just, as Fall put it, I was getting rid of some soul poisoning. And this particular song, I had this 1967 Electric 12, incredible guitar, and I decided to change the strings. So I changed the strings, and as soon as it was in tune, I just started playing this weird drummer on a guitar thing. And it was like, oh. And then all of a sudden, my fingers went over here. I don't know what they're doing, but this sounds cool. And then they went here, and it's like, hey, that sounds cool too. Well, and I looked over, and we were sitting in the lounge. I looked over at Dave, our engineer, and I said, and he darted out of the room, came back with a guitar lead, plugged it into the guitar, and nodded at me. And I just stopped and click track started, click, 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 and it just started over. And I recorded the entire guitar part in one pass. And then we recorded another guitar part, Gary's stick part, some other things. And Paul had went in and grabbed the notepad off of my bedstand and found this page. And he said, you got a mic for me? I said, sure. And he went in and sang the lyric. Maybe, I think he did 2 passes, and I blended them together. And then I recorded the drums, and that's the trap.
Man,
that's how the record was made. So that's how it came together. The guitar part was recorded first, all in one take, just out of the blue. And then it, Paul is such an incredibly gifted singer, and I mean, just the whole thing, it was an idea that popped out one night, and the next day, all the other stuff was put on it. And then I recorded the drums, and there it was.
man.
And of course, the lyric, the page that Paul chose was an open letter that I was writing because I was trying to purge myself. Every time I find myself thinking about the guys and my emotions, I would write shit down. So it's kind of an open letter to Pearl Jam in a weird sort of, I hate to admit it sort of way. And then the end of the track where the drums take over was a lot longer. And yes, there were pictures of each one of the guys at Pearl Jam on my Tom Waits part. So.
Well, like you said, it was like a cleansing, purging.
Yeah,
kind of
the whole spirit, soul poisoning.
Yeah. Yep.
Came out with a beautiful song.
All right. Well, here it comes. And this is called Remains is the name of the tune, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Beautiful. All right, here it comes.
Why didn't you just talk to me then? Did you think my blood on your hands was a lesser sin? It must be awful to be so afraid when happiness comes to you and you push it away. I can remember when we had time. We won the world and we learned how to fly. But you got pulled over the edge, pushed me away. Hey, am I still in your head? It must be awful to be so afraid. Happiness comes to you and you push it away. Life in a shell ain't no life at all. It's after the push, and now comes the fall. Through the pain, smiles I'm still smiling, I never died. Everything you used to love, it's still inside. Smiles
Man, those were some. I mean, what an incredible song, and those were some killer fills at the end there, Dave. Killer fills.
You know, it went on for a while longer, but we decided to edit it down a little bit.
Yeah, no, I could. You could have definitely kept going and just through the coda just kept playing those. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, you know what's on now? I don't know if you can pull it up, but there's one other song that I think would be great to end this on.
Yeah.
Because it really, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to give you an exclusive. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I love it.
I got in some legal trouble due to being in a situation in my life where basically it was the culmination of walking backwards through my life, trying to protect all the things that I'd done in my past. And I was looking over my shoulder at my future, which, as you well know, you've lived a life, is no way to go through it.
Yeah.
And there were all these little reminders that I needed to turn around, and stop trying to protect my past and understand and all these things. But I wasn't equipped psychologically because, having achieved success and money and all these different things didn't necessarily equate to maturity. As far as emotionally, I was still the same kid that retreated into a drum kit to find myself. And that's really no way to do it. I mean, it served its purpose, but the real world existed outside of the drum kit. And so when the real world crashed down, getting fired, getting into a marriage that wasn't right, all these reality
Yeah.
things,
Yep.
and the birth of my daughter, which was the most incredible thing ever. All these things, I wasn't prepared for any of that. It was like all of a sudden I was in this big world and I was still this 13-year-old kid that was just wanting to put on headphones and get lost in music. So, for lack of a better way of explaining it, the universe saw fit to crack me in the top of the head in the form of getting me arrested and me spending time in jail and going through some shit like that. And during that process, and this is the first time I've talked about it, this has been kind of an underground secret. During that process, there was a judge that said, Mr. ABBRUZZESE, it's about time you find out how the real world works. She really had a bug in her ass about the fact that I had an 8th grade education, but had made a success out of my life. And that didn't sit well with her. So this judge decided that I was going to spend basically the rest of my natural life in prison.
Jesus.
Yeah, for what amounted to a first offense drug charge. Never been in any trouble in my whole life. I was leaving town to reevaluate my marriage and my life, and I surprisingly got pulled over, and even more surprisingly, there were drugs in my vehicle that I didn't know about. And so this started this chain of events that led me into a position where I was in jail and the judge refused to give me bail and was planning on giving me a couple dozen years in prison for this first offense, right? So there were a couple people that were helping me, lawyers and such. And the short of it is they said, hey, you should leave. Because they got me out of jail behind this judge's back. And they said, when she sees you in street clothes, she's really, you think she's going to hammer you now. She's really going to hammer you. So I had to make the decision to leave. And I did. And I left the States. And 2 weeks ago, all of that got cleared up. 2 weeks ago,
Wow.
I was told I'm now free. I have no charges. This is after 12 years of being under a rock. That's why I haven't toured. That's why I haven't, and
Yeah, man.
so 2 weeks ago, it all got lifted. All the charges are gone. There's no more charges on my record. I got my life back. I'm in the process now of regaining control of everything and passport, all those things, so I can then go back to being who I am, playing music freely, touring, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited. I mean, this just
Oh,
happened.
man. I'm so happy for you, Dave.
Yeah, man.
Wow,
So,
man.
I don't advise it for anyone, but the last 12 years of my life have been such. I mean, there was a moment where I got on a plane and left everything. The awards, the accolades, my drums, my instruments, everything.
Yeah.
Just said goodbye to it all. Basically left the doors up on my storage place, grabbed a backpack and a guitar, and split. So, so I was forced to turn around and stop protecting my past and go headlong into the future. And in the last 12 years, I've been able to see life in a whole new light and appreciate it so much more and grow up and really appreciate the aspects of life that feed music. So I'm looking forward to this next phase, and it's going to be a big one. There's going to be a lot of music involved because finally, again, I'm free to do that. And in a big sense, I'm free to do it with a maturity and an outlook and an approach that is healthy. So, yay for me.
Yay for you, brother. I'm so happy. And
Yeah.
thank you for sharing this.
Best thing up, I thought about it and I thought, what better place to put it out there than to you and to the other drummers that are paying attention to this, because
Thank you.
it's you and the music and the attitudes and the shared experiences that we all have. And the space that I finally found myself in, where I was able to sit and take these things in and realize what's important and what matters. And it's not that I didn't know before, it's just that now I was able to actually really understand why it mattered, not just that it did. So
Yeah.
with that, this, a lot of things happened while I was out of pocket and I wasn't able to experience, losing my father and my daughter's, graduate high school, college, all these things.
Yeah.
But in the process of that, on my birthday, we lost Chris Cornell. And, I had made a record with his older brother, Peter. That's one of my favorite records that I've ever been a part of. It was, cathartic. It was just perfect. And it was the two of us that made the record. And it's one of the most important records that I was part of because of what he was going through, what he said, and how we came about it. And it was right before I left. But then when I got over, to where I'm at, I got a message from these guys, when Chris left us, I got a message from these guys from India. And it was an email, and they basically said they wanted to do a tribute to Chris. And I thought, I don't know, it's like, how do you do a tribute to someone who's so incredible? But the passion in their words allowed, me to accept the open door, and they sent me the music, and it just blew me away. And if you could call up and play, it's Zootopia, PSEU Topia, and the song is Seasons. And basically, it was everything that, to me, that music encapsulates in my life. And I think for a lot of other people, the power of these guys wanting to do a tribute to someone that meant so much to them for same reasons and different ones that, what he meant to me. But it's just such a powerful and moving tribute to Chris. And it was what got me back into, it was like their invite. And I was like, yeah, I've got to do it, and I actually recorded, I recorded the track on the only drum set I could find, which was Ludwig Ascend, like a $300 beginner Ludwig kit. Jeff Woods had sent me a 12x7 mahogany snare out of the kindness of his heart. Just, it started our relationship. And so this track, and then the video of the track, which is what you'll find on YouTube, it's me playing on a DW kit that is what came about from me re-entering the world of, playing music. Basically when I showed up, I was pretty brokenhearted. And I didn't really know how music was going to fit into anything because I didn't expect to ever be able to come back. And then after this session, after this song, after showing it to Matt Cameron and showing it to Peter and getting their blessing on what we'd accomplished with it, because the original song is just an acoustic guitar and Chris, and we turned it into something different. And it really validated, and I hadn't played in a while. And it was just like, all of a sudden it was like, wow, this is what I do and who I am. So that opened the door to so many other projects. And there's so much music that I've been able to be a part of in the last 10 years that we haven't touched on that I'm really proud of, I mean, including the stuff that I've done here just in the last few weeks. But this one, I think, is something that if you haven't heard it, you'll get a kick out of it. And I think it's just something that's important, you know.
That's great. Yeah. Well, let's play it right now. Seasons.
Cool. Yeah.
Here it comes. Thank you for the great setup too, for the great story.
Hey, man. I'm back, baby.
You are back. All right, here we go.
Summer nights are long, warm days, as stolen as the old moon falls, and the mirror shows another face, another place to hide it all, another place to hide it all. And I'm lost behind the words I'll never find. And I'm left behind as seasons roll by, sleeping with a full moon blanket, the sand and feathers for my head. Dreams have never been the answer. Dreams have never made my bed. Dreams have never made my bed. And I'm lost behind words I'll never find. And I'm left behind as the seasons run by. Yeah. Well, I wanna fly above the storm, but you can't grow feathers in the rain. And the naked floor is cold as hell. Oh, the naked floor reminds me. Oh, the naked floor reminds me. And I'm lost behind words I'll never find. And I'm left behind as the seasons roll by. Yeah. If I should be short of words, long on things to say, could you crawl into my world and take me walls away? and I'm lost behind the words I'll never find, and I'm left behind as seasons roll on by. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you, Dave. Thank you for suggesting that. And yeah, man, what an incredibly powerful
Yeah. Yeah, man.
song.
I went on to do quite a few songs with this guys that I'm really proud of, that, they're incredible guys. And the fact that, I imagine going to be a place of my show up now and stuff too. Nice. I'm really, really, really excited about getting out and playing again and playing live and doing clinics and yada, yada, yada. It's just,
Yeah, man, me too. We all are. I think everybody watching this right now is like a collective, jumping up in the air. All right,
well,
Easily.
I kept it pretty much under wraps that, where my life was at and where I was at and what was going on. And there are a select few people that knew that, were really important and instrumental in keeping my spirits up. But the best thing that's happened over the last 10 years is my relationship with music has become so much more powerful and important. And I mean, there's so much music that, we could go on for days. There's so many pieces of music that I've recorded that I'm really proud of. But yeah, what's to come is the best is yet to come. So
It sounds like it, and you can bet I'm gonna be getting you back on here.
oh man, anytime, at
Yes.
time. I appreciate what you do and how you do it, and to be a part of one of your shows is, an exceptional honor. So
The honor is mine, Dave. Thank you, brother. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for all the years of just being there and being so positive and supportive. And so many people watching have so many great comments, and you're so loved, man. You really are so loved by everybody.
it means the world to me, and it's like, especially now, we do, and you do a great job of managing to keep our political and the world's diabolical state out of these discussions. But right now, our shoulder to shoulder lives, being shoulder to shoulder, so important, because we're facing some serious things, and whatever we can or can't do about them, the only way we can not feel helpless is if we stay shoulder to shoulder. So,
Agreed. Amen, brother. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Yep.
all right.
All right. Well, on that note, I want to thank you so much for being here and for throwing in some really cool surprises that I wasn't expecting. No one was expecting. So
Yeah, go get it.
yeah, yeah. And this show is going to end up being at least 2 episodes, maybe even 3, because we've gone quite a while here. So thank you for that.
I like to deliver, man.
You do. All right. Well, hang with me for 1 second. We'll say goodbye in the room. But everybody, a gigantic hand for the great, wonderful, beautiful, legendary David ABBRUZZESE. Man,
Thank you. And everyone, I don't know who tuned in and who listened, but whoever's there, I appreciate you. I do. So.
we know you do. We know you do. All right. Hang on 1 second, buddy, and we'll say goodbye. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon. Big hand for Dave.
Bye, kiddo.
All right, that's my show. If you enjoyed it, give it a like, leave me a comment, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also download the episodes on all podcast platforms. And please visit my website, livefrommydrumroom.com, for upcoming shows and information on purchasing Live From My Drum Room t-shirts and hoodies. 100% of the proceeds go toward a scholarship I've created with the Percussive Arts Society. The link is also in the show notes. And you can contact me through my website or at livefrommydrumroom@gmail.com. And remember, no drummers are harmed on any show. And drummers, when in doubt, leave it out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you again real soon.